This is the draft season podcast. We are back. NBA draft recap today on this Sunday evening. A lot of picks were made, precisely 60 of them on Thursday, and we are here to talk about that. I'm here with my boy Sean 5K. Talk to him.
You already know, man. And yeah, like I said, I know people always love the immediate, draft reactions, but I like mulling on my takes and mulling on what we just saw. So man, I know a lot happened on the draft. So we're gonna get into all of that. Raz, you were actually at the draft. So I mean, I know your perspective was a little, I know you didn't have the benefit of having Woj ruin the actual NBA product. But like in general, though, I think this draft is just going to be forever known, you know, by Kendrick Perkins butchering Moses Moody name
That was
for
one of the.
eternity.
I saw that. Obviously, I didn't get to see that, live while it was happening. I could see them talking. There was, three different setups. You had the NBA crew behind me that was Jalen Rose and that team. Then you had the NBA TV team with 3D and some other dude I've never seen in my life. Shout out to Taylor Rooks, she was there. So that's always great. And then you got the perk table, and then the Woj table.
Dog, like
Chaos in
what's
there, bro. I don't know
yo
why Kendrick
ESPN
Perkins
is
is turning into like they're trying to give him this Stephen A. rope with the NBA. They
they
have
trying to
him.
make it they trying to make him dark skinned Barkley, bro, and it's just like, bro, like
It's not gonna
Charles
work.
Barkley is no, he's no English major. He's no like he butchers. He's known to butcher the English language from time to time. But damn, Kendrick Perkins make him seem like Shakespeare.
Bro, it's literally the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think I was out on Perkins. I'm sure I'm down to listen to him talk shit because it's just entertaining at this point. There's no basketball knowledge I'm getting from it, right? But they have him on here talking football now. Like he be on what's that Get Up with Greeny, which
Yeah.
and Greeny is one of those people that I don't understand how he's still here. They got rid of the real Mike that we should have kept. We should have kept the Golick instead of we kept Greeny, who ever since he said Martin Luther King Day has been failing upwards into the ranks of ESPN. But yeah, we'll let that go. But we get jump straight into the draft. Like the fits, there were some fits out there. That Jalen Green comes to mind. He's just like a Motown pimp.
He was
He,
selling
that
loose
was
white women on the corner.
yeah, like that was high fashion. Touching moment with Terrence Clark. That was to be in the
R.I.P.
building for
man,
that.
R.I.P.
Yeah, rest in peace to him. So that was touching. The food at the Barclays is trash, confirmed. Um, so shout out to Madison Square Garden, but not shout out to Madison Square Garden because it's Dolan. But yeah, they got better eats over there.
So, I mean, yeah, let's I guess we could start it here because we went through our breakdowns, and I
Yeah,
think it felt at least like the draft was going to start at 5, but we were a spot wrong. Because
our
the
mock
draft
draft, our
started.
mock draft got shot the fuck up, bro. Like I went through the mock draft earlier today.
Oh, to be
We
to be expected. To be expected.
Yeah, we shot like 48%, if that. Like,
Hey man, that's not. I take 48%, bro. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean that makes me a useful NBA player, but that
I
doesn't
take
make
for
me.
I feel like the efficiency of just like theoretically we was very high, but at least yeah. So number 4, what was your reaction when the Scotty Barnes pick came down? Obviously, I think a lot of people were expecting Jalen Suggs to end up in that top 4, but he ended up going 5 to the Magic. So what was your original reaction? And you are, like I said, we talked about it. Go check out the video we did on Scotty Barnes on the YouTube page. Shout out everybody listening on the YouTube. Shout out to you on the Periscope. If you in here, holla at us, man. You got any questions for it, drop it for us. But yeah, what was just your immediate reactions to the Scotty Barnes pick?
I was shocked. I'm still trying to figure out what that means for other people on that roster. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know Perk eloquently said, "Moment of silence for Pascal after Scotty was picked." I'm
Seem
not.
a little hasty.
Yeah, a little harsh there, but I mean, I don't. What's that fit like? Because they project to being about the same player in my mind in terms of I think Scotty is a much better playmaker, but like can you run them out at a 3-4 lineup? I don't know if the shooting is there for that. Like you can't. I don't.
Pascal and Barnes.
Scotty, yeah. Are you gonna run them
Yeah, I
out at three,
mean,
four? It'll be terrifying on defense for sure.
the thing about the Raptors that is, you know, just infinitely intriguing when we talk about them, and we all know Masai Ujiri is one of the you know, the mastermind of that Raptors, you know, championship team. We saw what he did rebuilding the post Melo Nuggets as well. You know, Masai he's never really had a chance, and like, you know what I'm saying, I know we're still waiting to hear, you know, some concrete information about like his future, and I know it's been quiet on that end, but as far as, you know, the Toronto pick, he's never really gotten a chance to do a flat out rebuild, which it seems like that's his like vanity project, and that's just, you know, Masai always, you know, he always wanted to get creative and build something from the start, and you know, to just his credit and how well he meshes rosters together, you know, he's never really had that opportunity. So the Scotty pick is extremely intriguing, just as about, you know, just philosophically, like where are they going next, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get too bogged down on the Siakam pick for the, I mean, or the Siakam fit for the time being, I should say, just because it's like, you know, can they play together? You know, I think that remains to be seen. That's a huge question. However, you know, like I do think this roster is in, you know, a pretty interesting spot to say the least, you know, about where do they go next. You know, I love Fred VanVleet. You know, I think you know, he's more of a, you know, your number two guard. So like, can he be the number one guard on, you know, a great team? Or I mean, I love him, and he's probably like a like overall two-way impact. You know, he's one of, you know, when you get out of that, you know, the actual starters crop of guys, he's up there. He's really up there.
Yeah.
You know, he actually fits really well next to those two guys. But, you know, I just don't understand. I just don't know where the Raptors are. So it just remains to be seen. So I mean, Jalen Suggs to the Magic though. I know we did talk about this through text. You know, and like it was just I guess it seemed like the best player available type of thing.
Yeah, they just went BPA because they have 42 point guards, bro. Like I don't like it's where does Suggs fit in there? Like in terms of just being able to play, because you in theory you trade for Fultz, so you're gonna want to play Fultz once he's healthy. You drafted Cole Anthony last year. You have RJ Hampton. You have Gary Harris is on that team. They have a bunch of 1-2 options. So it's just like I'm not sure where you. I mean, obviously you drafted him 5.
Bro.
You drafted him at 5, so you got to play him. Like that's not. You can't waste that pick. So what do you see like that fit working for him? Like because there's a lot of mouths to feed in theory.
You know,
in Orlando,
there's definitely there's a million mouths to feed there. I think the question ends up being like just comparing it to where they were before, and you know, I think this is the same question I'm going to have about the Rockets, because the Rockets is just saying, they basically said, you know what, or just to pedal back to the Magic for a second, you know, the whole Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac fit. We always had questions about the fit before they got Fultz. You know, they were running out DJ Augustine and, you know, just a cornucopia of, you know, replacement level NBA guards. So, you know, they got Cole Anthony and they got the rest of these guys. You know, it's like, even I think one draft perspective is just, you know, get the most talented guys you can get and figure out which ones are the keepers later. So, I mean, comparing it to where the Suns were going before, you know, I do think this is a step up because they actually got options now, and they actually have, you know, they got some type of wiggle room to where, you know, and shout out to the boy Mario. Yeah, Cole Anthony probably coming off the bench. Cole's gonna score. You know what I'm saying? I think he proved that. I think he proved that in year one. As far as guards go, I do think, you know, when we get into so many more combo guards to come into the league yearly, so you got to be able to show that real type of, you know, flexibility and scalability to be able to fit besides other guards. So we talk about, yeah, Cole probably, you know, Cole fits in that same, you know, combo, you know, archetype. RJ Hampton is another guy who, you know what I'm saying, never really got the opportunity to show himself in Denver. And the idea was he got traded to Orlando and he was going to get a better opportunity to really grow. So I guess my question for you, Raz, is philosophically, like when it comes to these young players and to bring it back to to Houston for a moment because where they at right now, I think Houston and Orlando, I'm gonna have similar questions for each of these guys, because from a talent accumulation aspect, I do think both of these front offices did a good job of just acquiring guys who are talented. Now, when we really get into it, and these guys are going to be on rookie contracts, so that's basically like you get 3-4 years of these guys being cheap and having the opportunity to see where they're at by the end of that rookie contract. Now, where are you philosophically about, just having similar guys who fall in the same archetype? Do you think these guys will end up, cannibalizing each other's, actual reps at, the reps that they're going to need to get to where they need to get to? Because all these guys have talent, but none of them are finished products, and they all have, some room to go before they get to, where they are as athletes. So where do you, as basketball players, so where do you stick on, just that philosophical question about, can you just, cannibalize each other by having, too many mouths to feed, specifically with young guys?
I think you can, because it's especially at the guard position, where some of these dudes project to play, running the one, you need reps. And yeah, like they can take turns getting reps with the separate teams. One can come off the bench and things like that. But I think at some point, you can't keep them all. So then it becomes a game of whose stock do you boost to trade? Who are you gonna let go? You know what I'm saying? And it's not like these are, like you said, finished products. These are players that are very young and developing. So like somebody like Fultz is probably his third year in the league. So at some point,
Fultz has been around longer than that. I think he's
fourth.
He signed an extension.
He signed an extension already.
He did. I believe he did. I'll double check.
Oh, you have to Google that.
Yeah, 3 years, $50 million he signed. So he's a free agent in 2024. So yeah, he did. Came to the league 2017 draft. So yeah, he's going on year 5, about to be year 5. But I mean, in terms of games played, he's much closer to like a, in his second or third year.
Yeah. So it's just like somebody like him, you paid him, so you're gonna have to play him, or at least play him enough so that you could trade him.
Yo, Fultz was
he was
really
looking good
to turn
too.
That corner,
yeah,
and get comfortable before he got injured. So that sucks, man. But
so there's that, and then you have somebody like Suggs, where it's like we saw what he was in college. You got to get him on the court. Like you can't sit that down, because everybody projected him to be a top 4 player. At some point, there was talks of him going number 2, number 3. So it's just like he needs to play. And then Cole Anthony, you wasted I wouldn't say wasted, but you picked him last year as well in the lottery, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, how are all 3 of these point guards going to get the necessary point guard minutes that you need? That's all I'm saying. Like now, Could you make one of them a 2? Sure, but Fultz will probably be your best bet to be the 2 out of all 3. Defensively, yes.
There's some mismatch of actual, because I think what it really comes down to is less, just guards and what is the actual, what is the skill set that these guys are bringing, so like I said, I think Cole is going to be able to score. How efficiently and how well to really, is he going to be a starting 2? So I mean, yeah, like him coming off the bench really does make sense. Like Fultz, Suggs as a combination together, that's real questionable as a just shooting wise, and I think RJ Hampton as well. RJ Hampton, super quick first step, and I think like he's somebody who he's probably the one who, besides Fultz, probably can get to the basket, at a really high rate. But it's a lot of question marks and it's a lot of hypotheticals of just about the jump shot. So yeah, I mean, but the Magic is going to be interesting. Like I said, they're in an interesting spot just because there's talent on this roster, but how the talent and everything is going to come together remains to be seen. So I think Raz, just a little. In general, I guess we're gonna go through our 5 favorite classes per team, just teams that we feel like had our favorite classes in general. And then after that, we're gonna go each 5 with our favorite just player specific fits on rosters this year. So Raz, favorite draft classes this year. You can start us off.
You want all five?
No. We could go one by one.
I mean, I'll start with number one with Detroit. I think, obviously they had a pretty putrid year, but you go, they didn't overthink anything. They went with Cade, so that is what it is. But I think getting somebody just on the back end, like there's been talks about if Garza can play in the NBA just from a defensive standpoint, but I think that's one of those things where you'll worry about that when you get him out there. I think anytime you can get a player of the year in the second round, I think that's a decent draft. Cade is somebody that I think can be franchise changing for them, and then getting Livers from Michigan, I think that was just a big pickup. I mean, I think he can shoot it very well. You can never have too many shooters on the NBA side. He had a bit of an injury, little bug with him, but he can play defense and he shoots. So he'll be able to slot in, I'm guessing maybe at the 3 or the 4 for them, and he'll be able to play off of Cade Cunningham, I think, in a catch and shoot role, a pick and pop, and sometimes even rolling.
Nah, for sure. Shout out to Cade rocking the buffs on his interview. That was fire. He definitely is going to do he's definitely going to do a mixtape with one of those Detroit rappers like Babyface Ray by the time the summer's over. So yeah, I really, like you said, Cade is the game changer. It's going to be fun to see what he does in summer league. For me, I got to go with the Nets, man. I think the Nets had a phenomenal draft. Just especially considering where they picked and the amount of talent that they're going to be able to bring onto the roster next year for cheap. That's going to be able to contribute. Obviously, you got somebody like Cam Thomas. You know the bag. He's able to. He has one of the deepest bags in this class. A bunch of tricks. He got he got a nice jumper. Smooth mid-range game. He can create and finish through contact. So I think just having somebody who can give you just that microwave scoring off the bench at what pick was Cam? Cam was picked 27. So I think that's really. I think that's a really good, and they let go of, what's it called, Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet, shit, man. I feel like he like throughout the whole season he hit a bunch of like he was just hitting shots. I feel like every time he shot, it was going in for the most part for Landry Shamet. Yeah. So that role, you do need guys who can come off the bench and fill it up, especially with the Nets team, who those guys aren't going to be playing all 82 games. We know that for a fact. Kessler Edwards, somebody who we didn't get a chance to talk about in any of our draft breakdowns, but I do think he's another one. 6'8", 203, 6'11" wingspan, I believe. He's a really, really good off-ball shooter. He moves well without the ball, relocates really well without the ball. I think he has, really good IQ on defense, and he does use his length and just like he's really good at positioning. As one of the older guys, I think, he's one of the more underrated shooters in this class. So I do think when you're talking about somebody who has plug and play, and is closer towards his man body than a lot of the younger guys in this class. And then we got Day'Ron Sharpe, who, I know we talked about him, and he came out and was pretty. He came out with a lot of prestige coming out of Montverde. And depending on the day you caught him at UNC, you were either going to see him, having a really good game or kind of like leaving a lot to really, be seen. But I do think somebody like if you're running him out there on second team on that Nets team with somebody like Nick Claxton, I do think just like theoretically him like Claxton makes up for a lot of what Day'Ron isn't going to be able to do. Whenever they do get off of, DeAndre Jordan's corpse, whenever or if they're going to do that, I do think Day'Ron, once he's ready, he's a big dude. And, I do think he has a burgeoning touch. So if he ends up shooting threes, I do think from just the touch that I've seen from him at UNC and on the lower levels, I wouldn't be shocked to see, a couple years from now, if he's shooting like 34-35% from three. Just like hypothetically where he's at and what he brings to you. So, and then we also talk about the passing ability that he has. So you combine that with the other, scorers and the guys who, are able to really move well without the ball. I do think, Dayron's ability to feed other guys, that I think Sean Marks hit that draft, out of the park. And I think that's for, for a Nets team that's going to be, cap locked for having Harden, KD, and having Harden, KD, Kyrie, and I know Joe Harris is also on a pretty contract. So I just think Sean Marks had an amazing draft. Considering he started, his first pick was at 27.
Yeah, I mean that's Cam Thomas should be with the Knicks in my opinion, but that's one of those things where the Nets did the best with what they had and they knocked it out the park. So my next one would be Golden State, who left the draft off the top of my head, with Moses Moody, the aforementioned Moses Moody. Shout out to Kendrick Perkins and Jonathan Kuminga. There's not much really to say other than they got a lot of talent with those first two picks. Like you got Kuminga, who's for what it is you can consider him a project, but he has that 7-foot wingspan. He's basically a combo forward, very explosive. He likes to shoot it, not scared to shoot it. And I think when he's engaged, he can play defense very well. That's somebody that you can play alongside most of the lineups you'll run out there when Golden State is healthy. And then Moses Moody is just another shot maker. Like they have another one that gets to learn under Steph and Clay and Kerr. So I think just with those two players, like that just makes the draft one of my favorites because they have the potential to play next year, but they also have the potential to learn under some great players.
So I mean, what do you feel about the Kuminga fit? Because I know I mentioned this on the Kuminga video we did about I would like if I'm just like mapping out pave marks and roadways for Kuminga to get to where he needs to get to. He's gonna need some rewiring and actual like to get some of the more focus type skills more locked in on him. But what do you make of the fit? Because like we've learned, and I guess it remains to be seen about what happens with these two. Are they just going to be being showcased for future trades, which I mean I guess works. The Warriors are in a very it feels like they're trying to just kind of waste the end of Steph's prime, trying to toggle between two timelines. It sounds great, but like for whatever you want to say about Steph Curry, I think he proved he's still playing at that elite level last year. My question mark about this Warriors team next year isn't about Steph Curry. You got obviously we have the injury variable with Clay, but as far as Steph goes, I'm not really questioning if he's going to be able to play at that level next year. Now putting two 18 and 19-year-olds in the rotation for a team that's trying to end up, as a top half playoff team, is that really a great idea or a great philosophy? I think what's the example of a team toggling between trying to win a championship and developing players or lottery picks. So just that's just like a hypothetical, but what do you think about the Kuminga fit in general though?
I mean, I think the fit works. I think to your point, he's going to need to be rewired a bit, especially because this team they're not looking here for really development at this point. They're kind of wanting to win. They have to win with those three pieces that they have right now. So I think Kuminga can learn some of those intangibles, those Draymond intangibles that they try to push off on everybody, but just learning to play the game a different way and then being smart with it to maximize his athleticism and his potential after he learns to play basketball the right way, I think will benefit him a lot. I don't see him having to play super heavy minutes right away. I think, 10 to 20 minutes a night to spell some of the 3s and 4s on that team will go a long way. And then somebody like Moody, I think he's going to be a spot player. When he's rolling, you keep him in. If not, unless he's showing anything defensively, you roll with what you got going right now.
What we found out last year when it comes to Andrew Wiggins, and in case there were any non-believers at this point, but the Steph gravity shit is real. Like, these guys getting the privilege of sharing the basketball court with Steph Curry, like it is real. And You know what I'm saying? Those guys are going to get the easiest baskets and the easiest shot of their life, you know, if they're sharing the court with somebody like Steph. I do think Moody is going to be I think his NBA skill is going to be more translatable from day one. So I think,
Yeah.
you know, just him being able to, you know, I don't think for the Warriors' problem last year was not, you know, lack of wing depth, or like, you know what I'm saying? They ended up, they like defensively, the Warriors on the wing were really good. You know what I'm saying? Like Draymond, combined with the wings they had, Wiggins, Oubre, like Bays off the bench, Mulder and Anderson, like those guys were not sexy at all. But defensively, it was not their issue. They weren't lacking, you know. They made it work at just like having the guys in the right, you know, scenarios and positions. You know, they were lacking additional shooters, and they were lacking, you know, somebody who could create their own basket. So I do think Moses Moody's skill set is going to be a little more valuable from day one. And as somebody who's a huge Moses Moody fan, I do think that was just, you know, a fire like just from a value perspective. Even though I do think, you know, the questions about Kuminga are legitimate, but I do think, you know, just from, you know, the upside play, whether, you know, they can, you know, finagle that into a trade down the road remains to be seen. But I just think as asset plays, I do think Kuminga and Moses Moody could have went, you know, like top 7, 8 individually themselves. Kuminga even higher. So, you know, I think you really can't lose with that. My next draft, my favorite class I have to go with, I got to go down to the Hoosier State, man. I got to go to the Pacers, man. I think the Pacers had quietly, you know, maybe not the sexiest long-term upside, but they're getting two guys who I think are going to be able to slot into their rotation pretty damn quick. Chris Duarte, obviously, you know, one of the most intense defenders in this draft. You know what I'm saying? He plays defense like, you know, money's on the line. He's trying to feed his family. I mean, and you know, like it's always funny to see the guys who have kids, and obviously Duarte, you know, came from the DR. He has a, you know, the non-traditional route to the league, you know, but you know, when it comes to just plug and play ability, you know, combining to what the Pacers already have with guys like LeVert and Brogdon, and you know, specifically, you know, it remains to be seen if they'll like try and dangle TJ Warren in some moves during the offseason. But you know, Duarte,
TJ Warren, man, that's one of those that bubble stories, you know, where he was looking like Michael Jordan. They was calling him MJ Warren, from what I recall.
Yeah, he got you know, you hate to see the injury, so we didn't really get to see the encore from TJ Warren, yeah. But TJ Warren could always score. But and then we got Isaiah Jackson, who, you know, I just think Isaiah Jackson is, you know, one of the best defenders in this class. And I do think, you know, like it's funny because if you're just talking about guys who've been on the trade block in the NBA and have been, you know, circling in rumors for the longest period, Miles Turner is definitely on that list. Miles Turner has been, you know, just circling. He's been in trade rumors for a good parts of like the past 3 seasons. And you know, they've yet to really get rid of him. So like but it feels like there's a strong possibility of him getting traded sometime this offseason. You know, it's probably Miles Turner and like Bradley Beal about who's just been on the trade, you know, just for the longest without actually being traded. So, but yeah, Isaiah Jackson, I do think, you know, as a weak side rim protector, his fit with Domantas Sabonis, you know, we know Sabonis is, and I've seen some bullshit on time. I'm talking about Sabonis is overrated, you know, and I like he averaged 20, 12, and 7 last year. If you overrated at 20, 12, and 7, and you overrated, there's only a couple dudes in the league who's even capable of giving you that. So I gotta laugh at that, you know, off rip. But I think Isaiah Jackson has the potential, you know, to really be, you know, an impactful weak side defender, somebody who has the ability to switch 1 through 4. And, you know, you could probably throw him on some of the like the thinner body 5s and probably get away with it. But I do think his reaction time, you know, his ability to really, you know, stunt and recover out to 3-point shooters. I just love that Isaiah Jackson fit. And I think, you know, him being able to get up and down the court, I just think, you know, that Pacers team, although it's not sexy, they have a lot of really good basketball players on that team. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Rick Carlisle is going to be able to get the best out of that roster going forward.
Yeah, man. I mean, you make very good points there. They have some intriguing pieces.
I thought they would go a different way in the draft, but I'm not upset with what they did, and I do think that's a strong draft. I'll say my third one should be on everybody's list, and that would be Houston. Houston had about 50-11 picks that night, and they started out with Jalen Green, and I mean that pick speaks for itself. Explosive in the G League. One of the most athletic people in this draft. Well, this draft is also one of the most athletic drafts I've seen in quite some time. With all of just the athletes that they have, real explosive. He's a scorer, man. He could have been a number one pick if he probably went to college. So I think you get Jalen Green there. You can't argue that is a good pick. I think his potential alongside what's his name, Kevin Porter Jr. as just a wing tandem is terrifying from the offensive standpoint. They play any bit of defense and they're going to scare a lot of teams. Houston also got your boy, Usman. I think that's a great pick there. I don't see how they could go wrong there. And then they went and got Jalen Green's best friend, Jay Gupp, Josh Christopher. Not as high on that pick, but I think adding that talent to that team, you just throw as many darts on the board as you can when you have all of these picks, and I think they did a great job with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you mention my guy Sengun? Because they also got him.
I did not even speak on Sengun. That's the glaring omission in my analysis. Yes, he too is on the team. From Turkey. Was he a Turkish league MVP, I believe, or something like that? Like he like at that tender age, great offensive rebounding. He's like basically what they're telling me, from the film that I've watched. I don't agree so much, but they're like saying that he's like a little bit more athletic Enes Kanter, which in this NBA, I
mean,
if that's
offensively, the soft touch, the post game, a million counters, being it. I think he's a better passer than
for sure.
Kanter would be. I don't think frame wise, Kanter is definitely a little more hefty and bottom heavy. I would say, he's like Kanter be throwing dudes around in the paint.
Kanter is very, very strong.
Yeah, he's very strong. I do think. I think there's more of a chance that Sengun is a shooter. Prep Kanter, coming out of Turkey himself, and just before he got to the league, really wasn't a 3-point shooter at all. And I think Sengun, hypothetically down the road, like he was shooting some towards the second half of the season and showing a lot more comfortability. But like I said, I think this, because the Rockets from a like I said earlier about the with the Magic, just from however do you see the the draft as just a a talent accumulation thing, or is it about fit? I do think when you're so far away from they're at the beginning of just trying to rebuild the post Harden timeline for this team. So just being able to get guys that talented, like where do you like? 'Cause I've seen a criticism on the actual crop of guys they had, making the same point about these guys are gonna cannibalize each other and just about fit. Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Josh Christopher, they all like similar players, and none of them are going to give you, let's say, I wouldn't project any of them as immediate defenders or immediate plus defenders. Any of them, is all hypothetical. But what do you just make of? What do you think? Like how do they sort that out? I feel like that team in summer league is probably going to be probably the most interesting team to watch. And I doubt Kevin Porter Jr. is playing summer league, but even without him, that team is going to be fascinating. So I mean, what do you just make of the fit and how those guys can play together on the court?
I mean, in terms of fit, for summer league is going to be okay, because it's going to be one of the things where like summer league is going to be fine because you're not going to have obviously the rest of the roster there. I think after that, when you're putting it with the actual NBA team, there's a lot of moving parts there.
Obviously, there's going to be players that are going to cannibalize those minutes, like Christian Wood's going to get his burn. So where does Sengun kind of get his run? Um, it's just things like that. But I think in terms of just playing together, I think, the chemistry between Jacob and Jalen Green is already there. Like that's like they'll be able to run a second unit together. I think like I don't see any issues in that term in terms of that. I think there's just a lot of dart throws with this draft. People took a lot of chances with this draft. They threw their darts and it is what it is. Like we're accumulating talent right now, and we'll figure out everything else after that. Is what it seems like.
Yeah, and I think like just you can't really like wings with that type of skill set. They like being able to get your like no matter what you say about like analytics, like being able to get your own bucket and like as a wing player, like that skill set is always going to be in demand from NBA teams. Yep. So yeah, like I said, this is kind of a wait and see approach. There is definitely I feel like this roster might make a lot more sense. Probably like 6 months down the line, probably by like the next deadline. When we see what happens with somebody like a John Wall and Christian Wood, I would probably just go ahead and try and get, max value for Christian Wood in the trade, because he's probably just going to take away from those guys. But, on like I said, just from a accumulation standpoint, I like you said, I don't think you can hate it. And, even if, there's still more actual of the blueprint to be put together, the talent, you just can't pass it up. I think my next draft that I did love, I'm gonna show some love to. I think I want to talk about this with the Kings, man, because the Kings from a actual, pick perspective, the Davion Mitchell pick at 9 is one of the more interesting best player available points of the actual draft. I think it was like at that point in the draft at 9, can you really be mad at the Kings for passing up Davion Mitchell? To me, the answer is no. Even if I like theoretically think about the fit of Davion Mitchell combined with a Fox and a Tyrese Halliburton, if that's my 3-guard rotation, I think you could do way worse than that. And I do think all 3 of those guys can play together. Now, I think a lot of people said, there were the murmurs and people are body expert languages they body language experts. So, a lot of people read, Davion Mitchell's body language and was like, he doesn't seem too excited about going to the Sacramento Kings. Now
it's Sacramento, bro. Why would anybody
like,
be happy to go to Sacramento?
Shout
out Mozzie though.
Shout to Mozzie.
Yeah, we don't want to disrespect no disrespect to you, Big Blood, but we're saying Sacramento is not Sacramento's not a vacation destination.
Nah, so I think even with the Mitchell fit and like just thinking about it, I think even De'Aaron Fox's pops was on the timeline salty. I don't know if you saw the tweet, Raz, because he did delete it.
Wait, at the draft?
Nah, after.
Nah, what he say? I didn't see that.
So basically, one of the beat reporters were basically saying how the Davion Mitchell pick was a good pick. Just like he's a polished player. He knows who he is as a basketball player. He knows what he wants to do. He's a hard worker. Just basically applauding the pick BPA. And then De'Aaron Fox pops, who is his name is Aaron Fox.
Of course.
Shout out to
son of Aaron. This is what the Aaron translates to.
son of Aaron. He basically just tweeted, and I quote, no, to the actual Davion Mitchell article. So, I do think like just to get your thoughts on it, because I do think at 9, at that point in the draft, Davion is legit. Like Davion has a case as just best player available. So I can't be mad at it from there. You could say that they need a center, and I would probably agree with you, and that is a glaring need for that team. You know what I'm saying? Guys who are going to play defense and have the potential to be two-way guys, those guys don't really, guys that have potential on both ends don't really grow on trees, and those guys are hard to get. And, especially when we're talking about somebody who can pass, somebody with the pull-up shooting, just a baseline and Davion that you have to be able to respect. And starting from the improvements that we saw that he made in his that last season at Baylor, it would have been hard to really pass up on him. So think I'm not really mad at the pick. I think just from BPA, I gotta tip my hat to them. You could figure that out later. Now,
Yeah.
does that?
I just don't. I didn't see
not to cut you off, Raz. I'll
go
finish
ahead.
a second. But as far as like Davion upside play, it's probably not the best. From like to see where he might be able to get, but Fox and what Fox is able to do on the court, like nobody can stay in front of Fox. That alone, next to like putting somebody on the wing who also get to the basket and shoot, I don't see that as a bad thing. And then Tyrese Halliburton is just one of the highest IQ young players to come in the league in some time. So I just think those guys, you're always going to be able to have two of those guys on the court at the same time. And then to talk about their second pick, Neemias Queta out of Utah State, I do think he is somebody who defensively, at least, as a rim protector, I think he's an NBA level rim protector. I think what he's shown, in just like, and especially an older guy, just showing what he's done. Portuguese kid who came over, he played for the Portuguese national team as well. But I do like Neemias Queta, and I do think I think there's some potential he's going to be able to be like, probably not a starting center, but I do think he is somebody who I think he moves his feet for somebody who is like, I think he's like 7'1" or 7'2" or something ridiculous like that. I do think for somebody like that, he's 7 foot. And he was one of the best shot blockers in college basketball last season. I do think that's going to be a translatable skill. So I don't hate the Kings draft overall. Now, your thoughts, Raz?
I mean, the Kings draft. My only issue was just Davion Mitchell, like the fit wise. Like I felt like they went guard last year. They have guards, but I mean, what's his name is also there too.
Buddy. They did trade Buddy as well. That's a part.
They didn't trade him.
Oh, you're right. I'm bugging.
That's what I'm saying. He's still here, so it's just like Buddy's still there. Then
For how long? He might. Probably, you know what I'm saying? When like a pump fake like that, he might be gone by the end of the summer, and his agent is probably pushing for that as well. But yeah, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen. So for now, all intents and purposes, he's there. And then what's his name that they got from Detroit is there too. Very useful player. What's his name? Blanking right now. He can play the.
They traded DeLon Wright to the Hawks. That was Tristan Thompson trade.
DeLon Wright's on the fucking Hawks. Well, here we are. So DeLon Wright now on the Hawks with Sharif Cooper. But DeLon Wright's gonna help the Hawks for sure. But like I think one of those things where it's just like they went best player available, and I think that's kind of the trend of this draft right now. So you'll figure that out when you figure it out. But yeah, I wouldn't have them. I didn't have them in my top of my drafts, but I didn't have them at the end either. They're somewhere in the middle. But it's the Kings, so I lean towards the back end of the middle because somehow it's just not gonna work out. Shout out to Shaq and Vladi and them. I'm sure Vladi's not even there at this point. My fourth pick for teams is Charlotte. So they have the Book Knight, which I am noted not the biggest fan of, but I think for his positives and his upside, Book Knight was rumored to be, people were taking him in that top 10. Stock was rising rapidly. They got him at 11. Him and LaMelo has the making of just a super explosive offensive backcourt. They're a big backcourt. They figure out anything on the defensive end, that would be great. The shot creation from Book Knight is going to be a plus for LaMelo. Somebody that can create their own shot, can even work LaMelo sometimes off ball for that to see how that works. Then the pick that I was confused as to why we traded this pick, the Knicks, but they traded 19 to Charlotte, probably to free up some cap space to make a run at whatever they was going to make a run at. I've seen this movie a lot, but whatever, I'm trusting the new regime. They haven't failed me as of yet. They knew Julius Randle would somehow turn into the most improved player of the year. So here we are. They went with Kai Jones. He fits that mold of that Texas center that has been coming out, that Texas big that's been coming out for the last couple of years. springy, shot blocking potential, limited offensive kind of skill set, but an athlete and a rim runner. So yeah, I mean that could turn between him, Miles Bridges, and LaMelo. That could turn into Lob City in Charlotte real quick. Buzz City is going to be already with the best commentators in the game, and at that fucking 6 p.m. JV spot, you need some highlights. So that's one of those things that that I think Kai Jones works for them. Their next pick, I'm blanking on who that may have been. Off the top of my head, I think that actually might be it in terms of the first rounders. I mean, they went Scotty Lewis and a center from Florida State, the Serbian one from Florida State. I didn't see why they did that. There's probably some players they could have gotten, but you throw darts at the end of the second round. So yeah, but those first two picks, Kai Jones and Bouknight, I think Charlotte had a great night.
Yeah, man. Yo, it's the Bouknight pick you can't really be mad at.
Nah.
We like if you believe in the shot, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you could really be upset at it. Malik Monk, I think the news just came down before we did record that they did they did not offer him a qualifying offer.
He's for sure on Knicks watch because he went to Kentucky.
And I think Malik Monk, I do think Malik Monk has, there's some, second team, second contract potential there with him. Getting in the right spot, and I like he can shoot. The question mark is kind of similar to. I mean, the question marks with him are kind of going to be similar with Bouknight. So I think from a lateral perspective, at least, even if you think Bouknight is the supreme or the superior prospect, I think that Kentucky season that Monk had compared to what Bouknight just did, I probably would still, say that Monk coming out, I probably was a little higher on Monk coming out than I was on Bouknight, and a part of that is probably, just missing or whatever it was that didn't click for Monk. Because I was high on Monk, even though I did have Donovan over him that draft, which neither here nor there. But yeah, I do think at least just resetting the clock for them and getting somebody to build besides Melo, I can't really be mad at that. The Kai Jones pick, I think that was just kind of like a an unheralded secret that they really wanted him. I think that rumor was out there the entire time. But I think before we do move on, Raz, I mean, what did you make of the Knicks draft night in general? Like, I know you was at Barclays, you was in there. I know a lot of people were anticipating. They were waiting that moment for the pick, and then they traded down a couple times. So what did you make overall of the Knicks draft?
The Knicks draft was way more frustrating in real time than it is in the result, right? I think everything they could have done all in one shot. Like, they didn't have to trade down all one time. We could have did this weeks ago, dog. Like, I understand they wanted to see how the board played out, but Quentin Grimes at 25 is one of those. I think he would have been there at 32 kind of things. I guess it's a Tibbs kind of fit. They're trying to project him as a 3-and-D guy. He's a little bit athletic, but he's one of those players that I watched in college at Kansas, didn't really do what he needed to do at Kansas, went to Houston and kind of propelled himself, albeit against weaker talent. Houston is always on the national scene, it seems, for the last decade in terms of like the tourney. So take from that what you want. His shooting really improved and jumped up last year, so that's a positive. In terms of just even the value, he doubled his volume on shots that he was taking. He went from like 4 threes to 8 threes a game, and his percentage went up 7 points. So it's hard to call that a fluke. I would say, just in terms of shooting way more and getting those looks and knocking them down more. I have to think that projects pretty high in terms of his shooting has the ability to stay that way. I think getting McBride where they got him, that's an ultimate Tibbs pick. He's actually, not to bury the lead, but or spoil the show in general, but he's on one of my lists for like one of the best player fits. I think he's a Tibbs player. He's a bulldog. He's going to play defense. The offense is there too. That can be developed further, but on the defensive end at the guard, he's going to be hell. And I think that's going to be somebody who Tibbs is going to put some trust in after seeing him do what he does in preseason and training camp and hopefully in summer league. And the draft and stash point guard, I had to very upset with that pick because I had to do film on that one. I had there was nothing for me to talk about in the time. So I still have to finish watching some games. He has a very nice guard skill set, but I don't have the knowledge on him to speak about it yet. So catch me in a few episodes. Check the YouTube page. We'll probably throw a video up there of him as well. Just trying to figure out what the hell did the Knicks draft and stash, because he just signed a contract overseas. So I know the overseas department, like if they see something like the Knicks overseas guard scouting department clearly has been putting in work the last couple of months because of the 2 pickups that they've made. And then Jericho Sims at the end of the draft, number 58, freak of nature, that same Texas center profile. I'm hoping he makes the team and go from there.
Yeah, I think with the Knicks, as far as just thinking about what this roster is going to look at, because I do think in a vacuum, all of these picks are, respectable. And I do like, at least with the after the Quickly pick last year, which was kind of like a non-consensus pick, I think they were kind of higher on Quickly than a lot of the average, just the draft dialogue for a lot of places from just going into what we saw last year. So I do think that's one pick that they got right against consensus. So I do think it's going to be interesting. Like the Quentin Grimes pick, I think you did state that perfectly. I do think my thing with both him and McBride is I think this team really more than they needed additional wings, and every team needs wings. So and I do think like defensively McBride is a wing and Grimes is a wing himself. So every team needs wing depth. So I think from just justifying it from if that's what was going into the actual the calculus for why they picked those guys, it makes sense on that alone, especially if you believe Grimes is going to shoot, which is a respectable bet, and McBride, I think the best example like that Drew gave or that I've heard about him is that he does play defense like he's playing like he just drank 7 Red Bulls, which is really perfect. And he's gonna be fun to watch. But what this team really needed was guard creativity and somebody who can really get downhill and put pressure on the rim. And just the way this team is setting up, they kind of set it up for you're basically running back just as much creation responsibility for Julius Randle, which fine, I guess. It's not even expecting Julius to like some regression is probably a good bet, a safe bet, but he's still going to be responsible for a lot, and also RJ. So I think with this pick, without seeing what they're going to do in free agency, I think a lot is riding on additional RJ, not only being that secondary guy, but being able to fit and become a guy who's able to really run your offense in a lot. And I do think that's still a step ahead of where RJ might be next year. And as amazing as RJ is, and I do think he took really, really good steps as a play creator. But I do think, what RJ does do best is, just slash, get to the basket, put his shoulder down and, just the bully ball. RJ Barrett is a perfect Nick, just like, from a general, especially like you can see it all visualized after the shot came along. But, I just think as far as I know a lot of people are going to be sick about the Sharife Cooper pick, and I guess we'll get to that later. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see what the Knicks are going to do and how they're going to bring additional ball creation to this team. Because if you're just looking at it, stylistically, even McBride and Quickly as as a 1-2 punch in the backcourt, I do think that also has some credence as a fit. I don't think Quickly is ever going to be the shot creator for others. I think he's going to get his own. And he showed, float God. He really did show that skill set, and that's a skill set that should age well over time. But another guy who's more score first than really a facilitator, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do in free agency, you know. But moving on to my next pick that I did love, or I just wanted to show some love to. I do think, you know, at 15 and 31, I do think the Wizards had themselves a pretty solid draft. At 15, Kispert, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. At 15, regardless, is it overlap between Davis Bertans and paying them both defensively? Yes, you know, but I do think just you know, I think Kispert for, you know, some of the jokes, and it's funny because some, like a lot of the white prospects can get dismissed just off top by a certain segment of this draft Twitter, which is unfair to, you know, there's white hoopers out there, man. It's really unfair. There's a lot of, you know, white dudes, you know, like they you know, especially the ability to shoot the ball is something that is always going to be extremely valuable currency. And Kispert is one of the best shooters in this draft, straight up. He can shoot spotting up, he can shoot coming off screens, you know, pull-ups. He even, you know, showed that ability. So I do think, you know, especially that pick for the Wizards and just getting somebody who fits alongside the other pieces that they have, which, you know, I think, you know, compared to some of the other guys that, you know, we've seen actually get selected recently, and who knows what the hell's going to happen with Bradley Beal at this point. But, you know, when we think about Rui is going into his third season in the league, they have Denny on that team. Adding Kispert on that roster as somebody who can shoot the lights out and can actually shoot compared to those other two, that actually should help them. And at pick 31, somebody who I had, if I would have released my actual full draft board, I would have had him ranked as a first round pick. But I do think Isaiah Todd, another guy, another one of these G League Ignite kids, I do think there is, you know, considerable upside there, and I do think, you know, once he puts the package together, you know, we're talking 6'10", you know, 220 pounds, 7'2" wingspan. I believe he was supposed to go to Michigan coming out originally, and he went to the G League. But, you know, his game is development, but I do think he features quite a few good, like, offensive aspects and attributes on that end of the floor that should be able to actually translate. I know he can use both hands really well. So I think the touch is blossoming. You know, I do think he's able to finish around the rim, even though he did struggle. I do think additional actual weight for him, and just strength, and to be able to really bang down there. He shot 44% from the field, 36% from the 3-point line, and 82% from at the line. So I think also, shout out to Paulie Pockets in the chat. Appreciate you, bro, for the chat. Yeah, Todd was a really good guy to have. They just have to give him room to work. Yeah, and I think for that Wizard team, you know, I do think just they're gonna have that room for him to actually, you know, show his game a little bit more than he actually showed it on the G League Ignite. As far as the defense goes, I think he has the size and wingspan to be a pretty good defensive player down the line. I know vertical jump. I think he had a top 5 vertical jump in the actual at the combine. So I do think, you know, and some of this is normal for some, you know, just young guys. I do think sometimes he lacked poor situational awareness, and, you know, sometimes he was a little out of control. But yeah, like Paulie Pockets did say, good fadeaway jumper. So I do think for the Wizards, who have struggled to really fill out their roster, you know, regardless if it seems, you know what I'm saying, that Bradley Beal is going to stay for the time being, remains to be seen. Who fucking knows? But I do think that's actually like a pretty damn get for them. Two guys who, you know, Beal is going to operate out of that actual, you know, that primary, and the ball's going to be in his hands a lot. So you're going to need guys who can, you know, space the floor and know how to play without the ball. So I think they just got two guys who, you know, down the line, and, you know, it doesn't, like, is Beal going to be in Washington long term? A lot has to fucking happen for him to commit for them long term. It seems unfeasible at this point, but regardless, I do think even from a start from scratch, you know, rebuild, I do think Isaiah Todd is somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, the last team that I would have on here, the Thunder, just by sheer value. I do think Giddey to start. I know this sounds crazy that I have them in my top 5, but I think the Giddey was a reach. there, but I think when you have again that many darts to throw like the Thunder, um, you'll end up doing things like this. I think in terms of upside, you could project that Giddy is somebody that they, you know, see a long term potential in, and this team is not in any position to win anytime soon. So why not try and take a flyer on developing a player that raw and that projects to be what he's projecting to be. Then at 18 they went and got Trey Mann, um, who's somebody that the reason the Knicks traded that number 19 pick because Trey Mann was on their draft board. And I think that was the reason where the Knicks were like, all right, cool. Like, whoever we were going to pick here is not who we wanted. So they traded back to save cap space, as they always do, for the offseason. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, a head scratcher for sure. I didn't think he would go that high. They probably could have got him at 18, maybe. Like if R traded up to like 15 to get him, if they really felt they needed him. But I mean, look, they're not here to win anytime soon, and they have 40 billion picks. And then in another trade with the Knicks, they got Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Big East Player of the Year, very good defender. I think it's great value in the second round.
That's a good pick. That's a really good pick. Yep.
Like that, like that's just great value in the second round. So like that's a player who doesn't have as much of a ceiling as a lot of these players, but his floor is very, very high. And I think that he'll be a useful NBA player for them. Somebody that comes in is going to be a table setter in terms of defense and can probably get his own shot. They went and got Aaron Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins is a long, stringy guard. He had a great combine. So that's a player who played his way into a draft slot. His shot is cool, and it projects to have the ability to get better. And he's just and he had, for sure. There's a lot of guards at OKC too. For the Poly Pockets really interacting with us here on the YouTube. We appreciate you. I don't know how long for OKC Kemba is, but Kemba could do the same thing Chris Paul did and reclaim some of his value and go somewhere in the next year. So I think Oklahoma City, they don't have any real big names. The Giddey might have been a reach, but getting Trey Mann at 18 and then that second pick in the second round just sets them up with some solid talent.
I want to say that the Giddey pick is a reach, but the reports that I read from all reports basically said if Giddey didn't go to OKC at 6, the Warriors were taking him at 7. So, I just like Giddey is interesting. I don't like his first step is below average. I would say for just from an NBA level. But his ability to really read the floor, it's a real skill. Like his passing ability is a real skill. It's gonna be so like that fit that teams, really connecting him with another type of guard. So I mean, like I said, if Shea is long term for OKC, having and Raz, like one of the wildest developments last year in general is like that you mentioned the Chris Paul thing about OKC and Kemba, building his value back up. Now there was a huge question mark about Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander about how good he was, but like statistically, he was one of the best isolation scorers in the league last year. So like if he's that guy going forward, he shot damn near 40% from 3 last year. Yeah. So I mean, and like elite on pull up, elite catch and shoot, elite above the break. Like his shooting, profile was a thing of beauty and straight A's on the shout out to McCrange's basketball on the B-ball index grades. So yeah, that was it's gonna be interesting because if Shai's that fit, having one of those oversized guards, I can see the upside there. But yeah, I would have probably had Giddey a little lower, but I can see the upside there. Sam Presti is a nut, as I will say, numerous times, and going forward. What was this? Is this 5? I think this is 5, Raz. 2. I'll just go 2 real quick that I wanted to say. Shout out to Pelicans. I know we talked about the Pelicans. We talked about the trade. I gave the trade a D+ without seeing the pick Now, I do think just from a value perspective about what they needed to do, getting off getting the hindsight benefit of seeing what they did in the NBA draft, picking up Trey Murphy, picking up with pick 17, picking up Herb Jones at 17. So they got off Adams, they got off Bledsoe, they picked up Valanciunas, and then they added Trey Murphy. That's a nice lateral move. David Griffin, you were still bugging for the moves before, but I'm not mad at it. Raz, real quick on Trey Murphy because I know that was your guy. How did you like that fit for him?
It's one of my 5 too. We keep touching on the best 5 fits. Trey Murphy that's a beautiful fit right there. That's somebody that is, in my opinion, one of the best picks of the draft. That's kind of one of the best ways to get the best out of Zion, who is your centerpiece. I think, if you're gonna build around Zion, he's a shooter, 6'9", and he can really shoot the rock. So like somebody that Zion who's been doing a little bit more of handling the ball, defenses are gonna collapse on him regardless. He's there. He's a great fit. I don't think he cannibalizes any of Brandon Ingram's touches either. So I think
Zanos.
Yeah,
that's actually a fire nickname, but that's exactly how Zion plays too.
Yeah, he's inevitable. As that nigga is coming. He's getting 26.
Yeah, in the paint. Nope.
Nah, but yeah, to Paulie Pocket's point, Trey Murphy also plays defense. So like he's gonna be a player that I think is gonna. I would have loved him on a few other teams, but I think I would have loved him on Memphis if that was the Memphis pick. Like I think that would have been solid too. But for now, with Zion, that's a good pick, man. I think they did well, and that's now that we got 2 of my players out of the way, we could probably jump in.
I did want to mention Herb Jones real quick, because I do think he did have a breakout.
Yes.
I think for pick 35, I'm not mad at it. I think he's an NBA level defender. You know what I'm saying? I think he's really. He's one of those guys, athletic, long, extremely competitive, great energy, unselfish. He can really pass. Hey, appreciate you, Paulie, my guy, bro. Appreciate you interacting, man. Definitely more content coming, bro. But yeah, man, I think he can really pass. Solid finisher. I think he can play through contact. I also do think he can, like I said, he can pass really well as well. So I think defensively, he's also shown he can be a guard multiple defenders, and I think at times Bama had him guarding 1 through 5. So I just think that type of defender, and I think especially as a weak side rim protector, I think he's an NBA player. Now offensively, that is the question mark. I'm not necessarily believing the actual. I don't think there's much upside. I think that's why you might just shrug your shoulders. But it's always I think getting guys like that, getting guys who can contribute and just culture guys who are going to play hard and really really know you can actually depend on them to be serviceable. I think Herb Jones might just be able to the shot. If he shoots, he's out of here, man. But that's hypothetical. Now I just think that's a solid pick as a second round pick. So yeah, Raz, we can we're going to finish on our 5 favorite just player and just player fit specific destinations from this actual draft. So Raz, you can start us off on that.
All right, so we already got my Trey Murphy pick out. We got Miles McBride out. So I will go with Zaire Williams. That's an explosive backcourt. Shout out to my king.
Mentioned that on the mock.
Huh?
I think we mentioned that on
the mock. We did. We might have to pull up the tape on that. If they go with that, because that's an explosive backcourt. And the upside, there's so much upside with Zaire where I think Ja will take a lot of that heat off of him at first. Where do you think Zaire plays? He's gonna play a 2 or a 3. He's probably more of a 2, in my opinion, but I see people have him as a 3. So either way, if you're rolling out irrational confidence, Dylan Brooks, him and Ja, you got a team that could be a hard-nosed defensive team if they want to be. He's just gonna be a young wing that's gonna be able to play off of Jaren and Ja, who in theory are your core, your young core. And I think it's just a swing for the fences with that. I mean, because if it pans out to what we think it could pan out to, I think if that's going to be a backcourt we're worried about for years to come.
Bro. Like shout out to one of the greatest draft quotes ever. But just a year away from being a year away. Shout out to Fran Fraschilla. Like, yeah, Zaire is like he's definitely a year away from being a year away. Now, Raz, we're both huge on. We're big Grizzlies fans. They're one of the best organizations. They took, what I'm saying, Raz. We got asked a draft sleeper on the previous mock draft we did. I didn't really mention him because I only thought like his draft range was definitely bottom of the second round, and I always saw him going undrafted. But shout out to my guy Yves Pons. You know what I'm saying? Like I love that. I love that Tennessee team. But just going back to like the fucking Grizzlies, man, they're always in the head of. I know there's a lot of other people who share that same just love for Yves Pons, and defensively, he's a complete tweener. He's probably like 6'6" in shoes, maybe even 6'5". But just his weak side rim protection and just his defensive ability, like he's an NBA level defender. And like offensively, we know it's not there. But I would love to see him play some minutes besides Jaren Jackson, just to see, just like the go-go gadget arms and the weak side anticipation. They're both gonna just be like pinning shit on the backboard if they share their court together. So yeah, Yves Pons is somebody who I love. So like just shout out to the Grizzlies, always up there, man. They're gaining ground on the Nuggets as just like that team that always just finds that value. But to bring it back to Zaire, yeah, man, hypothetically, man, the kid missed what, like 60% of his shots last year. Like you gotta play him at the 2 to start. I don't think he has like offensively his skill set, I do think it's gonna be able to get to the 2. We're not privy to these, NBA workouts because apparently like he was giving niggas hell in the actual in NBA in the workouts and stuff, which plays a part to why they actually picked him. But from a developmental piece, whether or not he hits, Raz, we spoke about this. We've mentioned it several times about just the cornucopia and the weird spot that the Grizzlies are, having a team that can compete for a playoff spot next year. But also, having a core that, if we
it's very young,
think a lot of
develop.
People, a lot of people would if we're just picking young cores, or young duos in the league that you would like to build along, John and Jaren is up there. Like those guys are, you get your young point guard, you get your young center. You know what I'm saying? 2 guys who are going to be easy to build around, guys that you could basically put around anything around those kids and like really put together a really strong team. So I really can't hate at it. So as far as just taking a home run shot on Zaire, I do think he's one of the number 1 home run shots in this actual class. I don't know what to make of the Sierra Canyon kids because their translation from high school to college was really rough. And like those kids were damn near like celebrities playing at that level, having actual those scoring abilities. And we saw the same problems with BJ Boston, who went to the Clippers. And shout out to Clippers for I think BJ went 50, somewhere in the 50s, 56 or 57, like really late in the second round. So I just think like in terms of just filling out your wing depth, you really can't hate on that. But yeah, like I said, so just to bring it all together, I'm not really mad at the Zaire pick. It remains to be seen. I think the Josh Primo pick is also another, it's similar to that, to where if you're going off the college tape for these kids at 18, you know what I'm saying? I think if you're one of the, I know there's a lot of people who are going to say, okay, this kid, he didn't look like a lottery pick on tape, so I wouldn't justify him. But this is a projection game. The draft is a projection game. What are these kids going to look like, 2.5 years down the road, 3 years down the road? So, for Zaire at least, like if he ends up being this, I don't want to like defensively. I think just bringing it up, like shit, I'm gonna do a video on him soon. But like shout out to Jaden McDaniels, because I think Jaden McDaniels is kind of the poster kid looking at last year's draft of of just one of these like heralded McDonald's All-Star blue chip guys who was like a top 10, top high coming out of high school, kind of floundered and had some questions in his college season. But as we've seen over the years, the college game is completely different. The roles are going to be completely different. And he's going to have way more talent next to him. So yeah, Zaire Williams is extremely talented. We got a question here. Would you have liked how would Sengun next to JJJ? I think defensively,
they real thin though, man.
Defensively, I think it could have worked because I just think Jaren Jackson at his peak, he's going to give you, whether you think of him as a 4 or a 5, he could do both, and I think he can play next to any other and a center. And with Jaren takes like he was getting off like about like 6-7 threes per like 30 possessions. So the dude is a floor spacer. If you want a legitimate 3-and-D floor spacer. So I think Sengun, it could have worked. I mean, like just hypothetically, the way he fits compared to like somebody like a like it's kind of similar fit of Valanciunas just skill set wise. So I do think it could have worked, but I understand why they wouldn't have taken him there. My next pick for just my 5 players that I did love. I wanted to go. I'm gonna go Jalen Johnson for this actual pick. The Hawks got him at pick 20, I believe, off the top of my head. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me.
It's close.
But yeah, I think just as far as Jalen Johnson goes, the kid is extremely talented. He's and it's always interesting to see how far like he fell, especially like the season at Duke was really rough. But his skills are legitimate. I do think, and one of his best skills in particular, I think he's probably a really good cutter and finding ways, timing wise, and just knowing when to really hit the basket. And he's always managed to be, if you watch him at the lower levels as well, he's always managed to be able to just be in the right spot to receive a pass. And I do think even as a connective tissue wing, to where similar to Scotty Barnes in that facet, to where if he's getting the ball against a defense that is rotating, he's going to be able to hit make a quick pass and hit guys in the corners. I do think that's one thing I'm going to be able to see from him. Defensively, another rangy wing, which shout out to Travis Schlenk. The Travis Schlenk gave you the he's giving you the blueprint. Trae Young, one of the best shot creators in the league. We don't have to say anything else about Trae. We just know that as a fact.
Yeah.
But philosophically, just putting up as many wings as you can and just figuring out that shit later. Hunter is there, Cam Reddish, what I'm saying? Jalen Johnson is another guy who, if he shows, I think his role is going to be extremely simplified, which is perfect for him. And I'll go 2 for 1 here. But yeah, the Hawks needed a backup point guard as well. So, it kind of sucks because, Sharif as a passing nut and passing is my favorite ability for, just any, like when it comes to NBA players and just looking at them, passing truly is my favorite thing just to see on film. And if I see you have a good passer, what I'm saying? Because I just think it's hard because it's like, are there guys who can't are great passers and ended up not really being good NBA players? There are. We're talking about how good of shot creators are there. Like, are you just running the offense like a Tyler Ennis or a Michael Carter Williams type of passers like that? But then you got guys who are nifty and actually creating shots and just the angles, the anticipation, and like the reel. Like I could make I could have made a 15-minute reel of just Sharif Cooper passes, and it basically was basketball porn for how that basically went. So to get him at 45, I really can't hate it. For a lot of people who did think, I've seen. I mean, what I'm saying? If I don't know how high Reef would have been for you if you did a personal big board Raz, but I don't think you would have had him outside of like the top like 15, 20.
No, I mean, I think he would have been he was top 30 for me. I don't think I probably top 25 if we're being real. But yeah, he fell way too low. I think just as a prospect. I mean, I had him on the board for some Knicks picks and some mocks as well. So, and that's when they were picking at 19 and what was it, 21? So, yeah, like I think he went too low. And in that same vein, I have a pick with I think is probably if not the best pick in the draft.
You can read off the rest of your list. You go ahead.
Yeah, the best pick in this draft, I think to me was Jared Butler going to the Jazz. That's a very, very good pick at fucking 40. Obviously the heart condition kind of thing may have tanked him in terms of stock, but he was cleared. He's probably the most, if thinking of the draft right now, top 2, top 3 most ready guard in the draft, like NBA ready guard right now. He plays defense. I think getting him at 4-3, bro. Getting him at he can run an offense. Getting him at a team that's looking to win now. There's some concerns on how much you bring in
down, and they traded out of the first round and got him.
Yeah, traded out of the first round and got him at 40. You can't do anything. You can't do anything better than that. Like Butler at 40 to play with Donovan Mitchell, Ingles, and those boys, like that's just a good pick. And then my last, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I was gonna say the last person on my team, I just think Jalen Green at 2 is a home run. Like I know that's an easy analysis. I'm sorry, people. Jalen Green at 2, I think is a great pick. He goes 1 in a bunch of other drafts. So that's all I can say on that.
Yeah, I had Butler on here too, man. And I think like that backup point guard spot has kind of evaded the Jazz for the last couple of years. Like I know they were running out like Moutier last year. I know they had like some Raul Neto backup point guard minutes in the past. So this actual core, and I mean basically Joe Ingles has for all intents and purposes been their backup point guard on that team. But you know, I do think I do think as far as what's it called? I do think just as far as fit goes, like he's gonna be perfect next to Donovan. I do think he can even play. You know, I think they said they're intent on re-signing Conley. So I even think I think playing besides those two guys, I think that's a great pick. And yeah, like that's going to be one of those picks where, you know, like as long as the health checks out for Jared Butler, like when the Jazz are playing like playoff games, and Jared Butler is having like playoff moments and being just that knockdown shooter and you know being just a gritty defender, that's going to be one of those ones where it's like Jared Butler going in the 40s. It just didn't really make sense. Paulie Pockets, I know you in here. I definitely had Moses Moody on here. We got a Moses Moody video coming out. We just haven't released it yet. And I'll talk more about him there. But yeah, Moses Moody. I mean, we talked about him a little earlier in the video, just about just the perfect fit that he is. And I think Moses Moody is. I think he's going to contribute more in year one than Kuminga, just as far as the shooting that he's going to be able to bring. The Steph actual, you know, gravity is going to be really huge for him. And so yeah, Moses Moody. I love the Moses Moody pick. The fact that he fell to 14. You know, I wouldn't have taken Book Knight over Moody personally. I do think there's a higher floor, and I do think I think there is a higher upside for Moody as well. If I just had to compare it to, but that's just me personally. So, yeah, I think that's a great pick. Another one, just my favorite, the rest of my favorite picks in here. Yo, gotta show love to. I didn't even know it was raining right now. Shit, I just felt the flash bomb. Oh, my bad. Yo, Bones Highland.
That's a great pick. That's a great pick for Denver. They got a point guard that can shoot the shit. You know, spell them Jamal Murray minutes, and you know Monte Morris can become more of a facilitator. And with him, you'll be shooting. He'll be running off of those handoffs with Jokic.
Jamal, we don't know when Jamal Murray is coming back next year.
That's true.
You know, what ACL injury, like 10 months at best, probably 11, 12. You know, later. You know, so that's gonna be interesting, but. You know, I just kind of as far as him be able to like, cause you're gonna like, bro, they're gonna need additional shot creation. Like Campazzo, Facu's not gonna be able to be, you know, as much as like I love that guy's a wizard and just one of the best passers in the world, to be honest. I'm putting him up there on the short list, not top 10, but obviously when we talk about the entire world and what he did, he has one of the best just sizzle reels of passes. But yeah, we saw how far we saw how far that could take you, or just the limitations that he has in a playoff series. So you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Barton is getting closer towards 30. Even though I do think he's gonna, I think
He's a free
I think
agent. Free
yeah.
agent.
But I do think, Bones, he can create his own shot. Really being able to set his own man up without the ball.
Yeah, for sure.
Like he's quick as hell. And once he like plants that foot and puts the foot in the ground, just playing and cutting to the basket at those like sharp angles, that's a damn Jokic, match made in heaven. So we showed you how to a lesser extent, Murray showed you just the ability that Jokic has and what he can do for centers. I mean, just guards and unlocking them, and I mean just the way that they run their offense. And everybody, Jokic is the primary there, but everybody else plays off of Jokic. So he's gonna get a lot of open shots. He has parking lot range as well.
Yeah,
really not a question. And he's just somebody that's gonna be able to put the ball in the basket. So I think going into especially going forward when Denver becomes a little more cap locked. I think that's just a great pick and great value from Calvin Booth and Tim Connolly in Denver. My other pick to wrap us up here, I also had Isaiah Jackson. I talked about him earlier, but Raz, you hated on this pick, and I disagree wholeheartedly. I got to wrap it up with my guy Jaden Springer at 28. I think that's a steal for them. That's another steal for Morey, and I think Morey, like the Rocket, like people. There's a lot of people who say Warriors a little overrated, Raz, and you could say like, okay, he's never won a chip, but I wouldn't really say it's because he wasn't trying things or trying like the best avenues in front of him. Harden kind of ran out Chris Paul. They wasn't really jiving together. Like that's not really on Morey. Dwight Howard's back issues originally flared up. That's not really on Morey. Westbrook. Yeah, Westbrook. Like, so I'm not really blaming those things on Morey, but just talking about he's only been
he's the only GM to take a shot at Golden State
so you gotta the whole league like crossed their legs and said, "Now we're good. We'll wait till KD leaves to really start trying." But just looking at the past two drafts for the Sixers, man, and bro, like I think it just shows you that like Daryl Morey, he knows what he's doing, and these picks just show me that even if let's say Ben Simmons is out of town coming out of soon, Jaden Springer is somebody who he's not Ben Simmons, but I do think Jaden Springer has, to me he has all defense potential, or even really close to one of the best. He has potential to be one of the best guard defenders in the league. So I think just like skill set wise, getting somebody who his fit with Tyrese Maxey, Maxey scoring ability, it flashed a lot, especially like those COVID games where Philly was playing like six man or like 7 man rosters and stuff. Maxey showed the ability to really score the ball. The shooting, I do think he's also going to shoot eventually. So I do think just that combination in two guards. And like I said, I mentioned as well with Isaiah Joe. I love the Maxey pick. I love the Springer pick at 28. At that point, especially for a team that's going to be contributing, comparing it to somebody like or even just banking your roster out when you're in playoff contention. That was always my thing, especially like going back to and go figure, because the Suns traded out of the draft in the first round, but that's the fucking total Robert Sarver move. He's been doing that joint for a decade, bro. Like the back half of those 7 seconds or less Suns teams, like great teams, but if you just look over the picks that they gave up because Sarver didn't want to pay them, we're talking about Rondo, and I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I think there's a couple more. Is there? I want to say Luol Deng. I might have that incorrect, but I know without looking it up, I know there's a bunch of guys, but being able to add contributors and guys who are going to be able, just to make your team and give your team different looks. And I just think as a second unit for whatever they end up getting in a possible Ben Simmons trade, I just think I think Morey did a great job, and there's upside on Springer. I think there is, shooting wise, he has a way to go shooting wise, but I don't think he's one of those guys that the shot isn't broken. I think he needs more confidence in the shot. I think he needs to work on speeding up his jump shot a little bit going forward. But I think defensively he's going to be able to play early, and I do think if you're just asking him, to make the right passes, be a floor general and get to the rim on closeouts, I think he's going to be able to do that. And I think there's going to be additional just asking craft from there from Jaden Springer. So yeah, man, I think that's 90 minutes, man. I think that about wraps us up for this show. Raz, you have any final takes, any final thoughts? Anybody in the comments? You guys got any last questions before we get out of here? Appreciate y'all rocking with us.
Yeah, for sure, man. We appreciate y'all.
Shout out to everybody in the YouTube. Shout out to everybody on the Periscope. If you got any video requests for the YouTube page, just drop a comment, drop a like. Let us know. We'll drop a video if you got whatever you guys want to see. We definitely rocking with all the love on YouTube. Shout out to everybody. We definitely growing that. But yeah, Raz, any final takes, anything from the draft that we did not cover? We have another show, another live stream coming to you Tuesday with the guy Mark Schindler. My guy Mark Schindler popping on with us. But yeah, Raz, just final takes. Anything that from the draft that we did not cover.
I think by Tuesday, I think we covered everything for the draft. I think by Tuesday for our next show, we're gonna have a lot more to talk about. The NBA, there is no off season. We'll be knee deep in free agency by then. We got a great show coming on Tuesday. Appreciate everybody rocking with us, especially in that YouTube. Paulie Pockets, you're the man. Tell everyone, subscribe on that YouTube, like us on Apple Podcast, everybody, everywhere you get your content, we're there. And yeah, I mean, I think, just draft kind of returned us back to a sense of normalcy, just at being in person. But, once this free agency is over, we're going to see how the NBA season shapes up. And, we get into an interesting time because football's about to pop too. So we're in content overdrive right now. So we'll keep hitting y'all over the head with this good content, man.
Yeah, man. So I think, that'll definitely wrap us up for this, Draft Season Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're checking out all the content. Raz, let the people know where they can follow you, bro. If you don't know, follow the boy Raz.
I'm at Polo Piffington on all platforms. That's POLOPIFFINGTON. Polo Piffington on Instagram and Twitter. You can hit my boy Sean. Tell him where you're at. Tell us where they can find us on draft season as well.
Yeah, I love Sean 5000. You can also check out the pod on socials. Draft Season Podcast. Follow the IG. We about to be tapping in over there recently. But yeah, man, shout out to y'all checking us out. Shout out to all the love. Draft Season Podcast, Black Twitter's #1 fantasy sports show. We out of here, man.